What up, Z fam? It's your boy, Z Dog MD. Was that dramatical? Dramatical enough for you guys? Hey, I already did a live today on Facebook with Tom Heineberg. We did it in Z Studios or Studio Z, and I don't even think anyone's watching this right now because I see zero. Is that a thing, guys? Really? Oh, there we go. 2 people. Sweet. I did a thing on Facebook already with Tom Heineberg. Hey, there's some folks. What's up, Chris Engel, Z-Dog? What's up, GPB Killa? I love how on YouTube all the names are fake, except for Chris Engel and Steve Palmeter. Hello, love you. Thank you, Steve. Anyways, I did a thing live with Tom Heineberg on Facebook out of Studio Z using our set and everything. But I feel like I need something more intimate, and I'm starting to enjoy the YouTube live thing because the quality's better. It's a different audience. For some reason, I'm digging the YouTube audience, and YouTube is where I started the whole game. And I thought, it's time to come back to YouTube to talk about medical satire and the advent of Butthurt. And for those who aren't in the know, is someone getting echo? Says Aya Kim. Echo. Or is it only you? Butthurt is basically a colloquialism for being offended out of proportion to the offense or taking excessive offense, taking something personally, etc. And I invented a new term called butthurt by proxy. There's an ICD-10 diagnosis code for it. It is very complex. It means being offended on behalf of someone else because you think that they are a delicate snowflake and need protecting. And the reason I bring this up, thanks Chance Barlow, no echo, that's good. The reason I bring this up is because a lot of times I'll do a piece and it'll get like for example, the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Match video that we just put out yesterday on Facebook. Day before yesterday on Facebook, it now has something like almost 2 million views on Facebook. And like in typical YouTube fashion, something like 1,800 on YouTube. So go figure where the shareability is. But in that video, I sort of make fun of all the different specialties from the sort of standpoint of the Harry Potter sorting hat. Like, what would the sorting hat say in the meanest possible way to people going into derm or ortho or pediatrics or primary care, etc.? Corrine Harlem and no butthurt here. Thank you, Corrine. I like the butthurt free zone. But butthurt has its place, and let's talk about it. Oh, by the way, so Aaron Josephson, I showed the video to my friend's wife who didn't match. Probably cruel, but she liked it. Right, Aaron? So let's talk about this. Okay, so this video caused butthurt on several levels. One, people were butthurt about the pediatrics joke where I made Ron Weasley the bottom of his class with the lowest board scores, and he matches in pediatrics. That is actually has very little correlation to reality, but it has correlation to a hierarchical perception in medicine that the specialties and by the way, my kid's playing violin, so I both apologize and send my condolences. Although she's doing a great job, but it is a little when I'm trying to think. So it correlates to this sort of old school feeling in medicine that you have to specialize, you have to do stuff with your hands to get paid, and anybody who doesn't do that just isn't smart. And the people I knew in pediatrics were top of their class in boards and all of that. But the idea is, again, this sorting hat is sort of satirizing the hierarchy of medicine by putting it out on the table, the stuff that many people think but are either afraid to outright say, or they laugh immediately because it's funny because it's true. That's how people think and perceive, even though it's not true. So where it causes butthurt on that level is people are like, oh, how this is disrespectful to pediatricians and they work really hard and da-da-da-da-da. And in a way, the people who are butthurt about that, at least in some of the comments that I read on Facebook, reinforce this idea that pediatricians are delicate snowflakes that need protecting because they're sacrificing a lot to choose a career because maybe they couldn't be dermatologists, right? Whereas, in fact, they're smart, compassionate, and they love to take care of little adults, i.e. kids, right? So this idea then of butthurt by proxy on behalf of it's a kind of sort of insult, an attack in a hierarchical way. Don't you guys think? So that's one form of butthurt. Now, if you're actually a pediatrician and you're butthurt by it because you think it's too harsh and you could have picked a different specialty, something like that, well, that's fair and you can have that conversation. Although, again, I would say it's satire and it's actually making fun of the hierarchy that would say something like that. The second kind of butthurt is, I think, a little more appropriate, but also, I would argue, from my angle, defensible. And this is the piece. And somebody already made a comment about this. The idea that people who, in the beginning of the clip, there were people who, I made a joke, Professor McGonagall, I had her, and again, this is also, the way I record these things is stream of consciousness, so it really is unconscious conditioning that then comes out, and I'm trying to be as provocative and like unfiltered as possible, so whatever bubbles up, I'll say it, and I'll take like the third best take, right? So I had McGonagall, and this was actually the first take, where she's like, there is absolutely no reason to cry. We are all in this together, and there are no losers. Except for the people who didn't match. They are complete losers. So that just kind of came off, and I left it in because it was funny as hell. And the truth is, again, there's a perception that if you don't match in the residency match, if the computer doesn't hook you up with a program, you're somehow not worthy, you're somehow not as good as your colleagues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And there are stories everywhere of people who didn't match, who ended up finding their calling and their path, either in the scramble or in something else, or in a delayed match, or in the second time they did, whatever it is. So it is absolutely not the end of the world. It does not mean you're stupid. It does not mean you're unloved. It means you're probably unlucky, and maybe you chose the wrong sort of, either the wrong path or the wrong particular set of programs and were unrealistic, whatever it is, right? But you're not a complete loser. But the way the video is set up is it's satirizing that belief. And it's funny because you immediately laugh because you know that people actually feel this way. So people, what's interesting about this is I got a few messages from people who didn't match. And they were either saying, you know, I didn't match and it's hard, but this is really funny and it was a way to laugh at it. That's wonderful because that's exactly the intent, right? And then I would advise them and say, look, you're going to find your path and actually this all happens for a reason, etc. However, and again, you're trying to do it not in a way because I did match, right? But some of my friends didn't match or didn't get the choice they wanted. And it was a devastating day for them in their mind, although everything in the long run worked out better than they could have imagined, right? So there was one person who didn't match, and she was like, I thought it was really funny, but I'm really sad, and I guess I should have just stayed off Facebook. Now, for that kind of thing, you can see how the medical satire can actually be hurtful, even when you don't intend it to be. And I actually, you know, as somebody who unfortunately is cursed with a smidge of empathy, I feel for that sort of person because, again, they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time when a humor bomb goes off, a satirical bomb goes off, and it's going to hurt you. And that's going to happen in humor. That's just the nature of the beast, unfortunately. And if we try to clean it up so much that we don't hurt anybody's feelings, we end up in a mess, right? In a sort of a politically correct morass where nothing gets done and everybody's just rolling around, wallowing in butthurt. Q day. Let's read some comments because these comments disappear after the thing goes live, so I might as well read them while they're there. Out of sight, on my mind says, tell the butthurt to do a sitz bath. I like that a lot. I can't believe you actually have to explain butthurt and satire to a high IQ community. Seriously, laugh at yourself. The best therapy is to survive in this field. Joyce McSwan. So Joyce, I think for the vast majority of people in this field, they don't need the explanation, but it's that minority and they're very vocal. And I feel like it's less explaining it to people than it is kind of getting inside my head in terms of how I think about how I do satire. And the idea is that my intent is never to hurt people. It's medicine. We use gallows humor and all that, but also my sort of mission is to try to spread awareness about a better way of doing medicine, also trying to spread compassion. And that's why I think it's incumbent on me to sometimes explain when there can be construed times when I'm maybe not being as compassionate as I might be. Or should be. So that's kind of, it's partially me. It's partially me trying to say, here's my psychotherapy of why I do what I do. The scenario isn't butthurt. That's shrapnel, man. Jennifer Leakey, yeah. I think it's a good, you're like your collateral damage in my satire missile. I think your intent is very clear. Keep going, Joyce McSwan. Thank you, Joyce. I don't see a problem with it, says Aaron Josephson. Most of us didn't choose medicine for the money or the glamour or being an orthopod or a dermatologist. If money or glamour was our sole motivation, most of us would have left, or most of us, where's the rest of the comment? Most of us would have, and it got cut off. I spot on, right? Like, I mean, if you're in medicine for the glory and the money and the chicks, you're in the wrong you are definitely in the wrong space, especially if you're in it for the chicks. Millicent Bulstrode would have matched OB-GYN. Sarah Thurgood. Sarah, I want to laugh at that really hard because it's kind of spot on. It's stereotypes. Stereotypes. Would love to buy you a bloomin' onion so you don't have to share with Luke and the gang. Steve Palmer. You know, Steve, it's funny when I did that rant for Doc Vader. I'm going to drink something. Hold on. Plain hot water because I'm an old Chinese man at heart. When I did that rant with Doc Vader, it all just kind of came out, and like Tom was in the back prompting me like, "Hey, Red Lobster!" And so I strung together this stream of stuff, and it just came out that he goes, I go to Outback Steakhouse, and we get a blooming onion, which of course is at Outback Steakhouse. But actually, what I said, no, what did I say? I said Awesome Blossom, which is not an Outback Steakhouse meal. It is a Chili's meal. But I conflated the two, and very few people noticed. But the people who noticed were quite furious. They were like, "Hey, man, it's the bloomin' onion, mate. Like, get your food correct, cause Vader." Those cheesy biscuits are ridiculous, though. Chris Miller, I know those biscuits, though. Wait a minute, hold on. Because you guys are so patient with me.
The circle is now complete. When I left you, I was but the intern. Now I am the attending. Let's see if I can read comments here. It's very hard. Is your child playing Vivaldi Concerto A minor? My children don't exist. You know why? Because I apparently killed Padme, and she never told me, okay? She never once told me that she was having twins. Nor did she tell me that the children were born. Although I am incredibly force sensitive, you would think I would know it. Like I knew Luke, like when we were fighting, I'm like, this is my son. I knew it right away. However, right, didn't know they were born. I'm like filled with midi-chlorians, and I have no idea. Zero idea. I'm putting my beanie on. Oh, damn it. Damn you, Emperor. You've given me such a big head. Why couldn't they do better with it? Let me put this back. There we go. All right, what do we got here? I can't see a damn thing. LOL says Ceridwin. LOL. What is that, like lasers on lock? Maybe that's what I've got my LOL, bro. My lasers on lock. You may fire when ready.
That was claustrophobic as. Don't ever let me do that again. Can you tell us how to do a Jedi mind trick on patients to help them lose weight and change lifestyle, Eric M? Oh, it's very easy. These aren't the Cheetos you're looking for. That's it. Simple as that. These aren't the Cheetos I'm looking for. Hundreds of pounds gone. Speaking of butthurt, oh my God. So I did a Doc Vader on, it was called Hut Shaming. And it was a parody of like the whole fat shaming controversy about, you know, whenever a healthcare professional implies that a patient could use willpower, better choices, food choices, etc., to lose weight, it is considered a kind of fat shaming. And so I had Vader sitting on his, you know, therapy couch with Leia doing the therapy, and he's like, you know, you're 6,000 kilos, Jabba, all right, and that's fine. Maybe it's glandular, but you're eating galactic space burgers in front of me in my office. Maybe that's contributing. I don't know. Maybe it's, you know, cut out the carbs, homie. And boy, did I get some angry messages from people who were butthurt about that. And again, it's satirizing a particular viewpoint, right? And there's some truth in everything, which is why it's funny. It's like, yes, choice is a part, but a lot of times in the morbidly obese, you have everything from socioeconomic determinants of health. In other words, they're in a food desert. Maybe they were abused as a child, and food is a certain type of coping mechanism. There's conditioned behavior. It's very difficult to eat well when you're broke. There are legitimate medical conditions that can cause you to gain weight. So all those things are true. However, the guy who just doesn't have the education level and who's drinking, you know, a 62-ounce big gulp, that's pure sugar and doesn't know it. That's a problem. That requires education. It also requires you being able to tell the patient, look, you are fat or obese, and that is a problem. And we need to work on it together because it's hard, right? Simple as that. Just being honest and forthright without being hurtful. And again, it comes from somebody who used to be quite overweight, especially as a young person, which is the worst time to be overweight because everybody makes fun of you. You're picked last for every sports team and you're just a mess. So I've been through that, right? I've been fat shamed. So now it's my turn to fat shame, all right? Period. That's what I'm saying. You think I'm a little crazy? Maybe you're crazy. Sorry, I went full Vader for a second there without the mask, which creepy. Let's see what we got. Antibiotic stewardships. These aren't the drugs you're looking for. Move along now, Michael Gelman. That's pretty funny. That's right. Yeah, I like that Zosyn. This isn't the drug you're looking for. Consider giving nothing and letting him be septic. People will be butthurt regardless of what is said. You could literally say water is wet and someone would come through and say, oh, but what about ice? That's so inconsiderate of ice's feelings, Robert Massey. Well, Robert, I would... Okay, here's the thing. And I'm not going to get political, but I'm just going to say there is a schism in this country now between the butthurts and the butthurt nots. And I think partially if you have progressive ideals, right, like you want to see greater equality, less injustice, etc., a lot of times that seems to be coupled with a very low butthurt threshold. So you're always either butthurt or butthurt by proxy, and I don't think that advances the cause. I think we have to toughen up a bit and say, you know what, not everything is a microaggression. Some things are just straight macroaggressions, and we just have to punch or punch back. Or say, you know what, this is how it is. We're gonna lead by example. We're gonna make things better in our own way, but we're not gonna spend our lives being butthurt and running to our safe spaces. And there's legitimate trauma, right? So there's sexual trauma. There's all kinds of stuff that can happen, PTSD, and those things we have to respect. But I think the butthurt threshold has been dialed down for many, and it's causing inability to have a dialogue, right? Especially on our college campuses. Come on, guys. I know Milo Yiannopoulos is, cray-cray, but like, let the dude speak. Who cares? You're really gonna go break stuff because the guy's coming and saying some kooky stuff? Dude, people have been saying kooky stuff for a long time. Sticks and stones, all right? What do we got? My daughter said kids make fun of skinny kids nowadays, not the fat kids. How times have changed, Eric M. Wow, that is different. Just a hemorrhoidectomy would fix some of it. That's true, Jennifer Leckie. That is true. It would fix a lot. Doc Vader preventing spread of pestilence throughout the galaxy. Patrick McCorkle. That's what he does. He's all about that pestilence, though. Don't make me put my glasses on. Pestilence. I don't know where these came from. These are like... I got these from Amazon because it said Jay-Z Rockaware. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. Do I look like Jay-Z? Not a lick. Not even 30% Jay-Z, I'm going to wear these now. You like big, beautiful women like me? Hot chocolate? Oh, here we go. Now we're on YouTube. Now we know we're on YouTube, right? Because this thing never seems to happen to me on Facebook. The next thing I know, I'm going to be down a K-hole with some weird, I don't even know what's going to happen. I can't wait until science develops a genuine, concrete pill so people can harden up and not run around crying because they heard an opinion conflicting with theirs. Generic wiki. Oh, yes. Or generic Kiwi. Yes, I agree. People need to toughen up. Look, and I'm pretty open-minded and generally progressive, so it's not like I'm just bagging on liberals. I'm saying people need to toughen up, and it's true on the right as well. So, it's a transpartisan issue that we need less butthurt in our lives. Medical personnel get butthurt, patients get butthurt, too many pansies. Chris Miller. It's one way to put it, although, I'm butthurt by the word pansy, okay, because it has a very cis standard binary gender nomenclature that I disagree with, all right? Where's my damn bathroom? Haha, love your stuff, Doc. Any recommended objective measures to get the point across to obese patients? Objective measures. Well, so it's tricky, Matthew Conroy. I think with obese patients, the first thing is having the conversation about... Let me take this crap off. Having the conversation about obesity and saying, look, whatever it is, there's the 3 kisses from hot chocolate. Whatever it is, we can tackle it together. I'm going to be here to support you. It's not easy, and sometimes it's setting up the scenario around you so that things that are impossible, because willpower is a bit of an illusion, right? You can actually you can hack willpower by changing the environment, by changing the conditioning of our unconscious elephant that's making decisions for us. There's a lot of things you can do, but I think blaming a patient's willpower, blaming it all on poor choices is going to be counterproductive. But giving them tools to actually improve in concrete ways, step by step by step, and also showing that you're worried about them and you care about them, because those are two things that aren't all often clear to patients. And if they don't get that sense, then they're less motivated to work with you, in my experience. Okay, Hot Chocolate is still texting me here. I need help with my weight. Well, with a name like Hot Chocolate, I'm going to say maybe step one, change the name in the avatar to something thinner, like decaf soy latte with stevia. I'm just spitballing. I'm throwing it out there. What do we got? Chris Miller, it's hard to be honest with obese patients without them getting offended, but it needs to be done. Hopefully they see they have a problem. Well, Chris, so the problem is when you're honest, if they get offended, then your patient satisfaction scores hit the can and you get penalized. And that's one of the big problems with the current healthcare industrial patient experience complex. we're unable to be honest with patients and ourselves anymore. Let's see. We tell patients to do this and that, but we need to give them rationales as to why they need to ambulate, etc., what the consequences are. Audrey Trong. So Audrey, I would actually argue that even that's not true. I would say that it's true we need to do those things, and that's great. But when you speak only to the strategy and the thinker, the conscious little writer, the writer is sitting on top of this elephant, which is our unconscious, intuitive engine that really drives most of our decisions and our morality and our emotions and our fear and all those other things. That's really what's driving behavior. And you can rationalize with it all you want, but it's going to be very tough to change its behavior through rationalization. You have to have a three-pronged approach. You have to motivate it with, first of all, with compassion, so as to know you care about it. You have to use stories and sort of guidance that way and illustrate it with sort of almost parables, right? I mean, that's why all these religious texts are all parables. And you need to condition it. So sometimes that means changing the path that the elephant and the rider are walking on and saying, making it easier, taking all the crap out of the house, the junk food out of the house, making it easier to have healthy food, teaching ways that you can eat a little bit better each day. Maybe it's cutting out the soda, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have to guide the little rational guy in a very simple way. Go, look, it's real simple. Let's just cut out French fries. Or like this week, when you go to McDonald's, you don't get French fries. You can have the other stuff. And then each week is something. Just a simple thing that doesn't cause it to overthink and get paralyzed with indecision. And then motivate that elephant, right, with stories and compassion and reconditioning, and then change the path so that what they're walking on is actually more conducive to the behavior that you think is appropriate for that patient, which is a behavior that would lead to a healthier diet, weight loss, etc., improved self-worth, and all the psychological great things that go with safe weight loss. Aaron Josephson, I find that my obese patients know that they are obese. Telling them you're obese and will get CAD DM isn't helpful. They need to be motivated, not lectured. Exactly, Aaron. Exactly. And I think part of the motivation is going, look, we know you're obese. Let's just put the elephants in the room, okay? Now, what does that mean? Is it your fault? No. Here's how we can make this better, but it's going to take teamwork. And here's why. And you have to motivate them. Like, do you want to see your grandkids graduate school? Do you want to stay active and able to do stuff later in life? Because those are the things that are going to happen to you. Do you want to be financially more viable, instead of crushed by medical debt or not upwardly mobile in your job, because all the data says that very obese people have trouble advancing in careers, probably due to stigma and bias and unconscious bias and conscious bias, right? Don't call patients elephants. So rude, Christopher Ballas. Isn't this whole video about butthurt and the inappropriate nature of butthurt? What more motivation do you need other than taking years off your life? Chris Miller. So Chris, for some people, that is not a tangible motivation for their elephant because they don't feel it. If you don't feel it, if you can rationalize, oh, every year smoking, look at smoking. People will smoke even though they know full well rationally it's killing them. But their elephant is like, oh, oral fixation, comfort, socialization, connection with other people who smoke. Taking your mind off things, being able to think a little better, having a good BM. There's a million reasons why people smoke, right? And a million more why they shouldn't. But they don't behave rationally. They behave intuitively, emotionally, and in a conditioned way. And that elephant is also conditioned by dopamine and by chemicals and things like that, that you have to alter your environment actually to change sometimes. So, there's ways to do that too, and smoking is a whole nother talk. And again, I don't have magic answers. I'm just saying we may have been looking at it wrong for a long time if you think you can just talk someone out of something by appealing to their rationale. It doesn't work very well. Muzzy337, why aren't MDs yelling from the rooftops about the myriad dangers of sugar? Fat isn't the problem, sugar is. The food industry is killing America. Well, Muzzy, the thing about sugar is, first of all, it takes the medical community a long time to catch up with the science. Increasingly the science, and it's still equivocal a little bit, although I'm a believer that sugar is a toxin in many people. And in excess is one of the big problems, especially in its hidden forms, processed food, etc. And I think fat has been demonized. Trans fat, always bad. Saturated fat depends, and unsaturated fat just phenomenally good for almost everybody, monounsaturated fat, right? And so like the things in olive oil, nuts, macadamia, avocado, etc. So in that setting, doctors are increasingly actually having the conversation about sugar, high processed carbohydrate diets, etc. So I think it's going to catch up eventually. All right. On that note, we've gone for 26 minutes, which is way too long. I hear my kids stop playing violin, which means I better go see what is wrong. And dose determines the poison. Paracelsus, that's right. Uzil Salceda. And tell that to the anti-vaxxers with their mercury. All right, guys. Love y'all. Thanks for joining me on YouTube. It's kind of a new thing, so I appreciate it. And we out.